On July 4th, while most Americans were celebrating our nation's independence, a group of radical extremists launched a violent, military-style ambush against law enforcement at a Texas ICE detention center. This wasn't a protest, this wasn't civil disobedience, this was an attempted assassination, plain and simple, targeting those who risk their lives to keep our borders and communities safe. According to the Department of Justice, 10 individuals have now been charged with attempted murder of a federal officer after this coordinated attack at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas. The suspects, Cameron Arnold, Savannah Batten, Nathan Bauman, Zachary Yvetz, Joy Gibson, Bradford Morris, Maricela Rueda, Seth Sykes, Elizabeth Soto, and Inez Soto. Now each face a mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison, up to life behind bars if convicted. Another individual has been charged with obstruction of justice, trying to help these criminals cover their tracks. Let's break down what happened. Late that night, around 10:30 p.m., a group of 10 to 12 people, all dressed in black, started by shooting fireworks at the detention center. They vandalized vehicles, spray-painted anti-ICE slurs like "Ice Pig" on cars, and tried to lure officers outside. When an Alvarado police officer responded, he was ambushed, shot in the neck by someone hiding in the woods. At the same time, another attacker across the street opened fire, unloading 20 to 30 rounds at unarmed corrections officers. Miraculously, the wounded officer survived and has since been released from the hospital. Law enforcement found the suspects equipped with body armor, spray paint, and multiple firearms, including 2 AR-15s. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment outburst. This was planned, organized, and executed with military-style tactics. Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson put it plainly, this was not a peaceful protest. It was an ambush against federal and local law enforcement. Let me tell you why this matters. Assaults on ICE officials have skyrocketed by 700%. This is not just isolated violence, it's part of a disturbing trend where radical activists are openly targeting the men and women who enforce our nation's laws. Whether you support every aspect of immigration policy or not, attacks like this are an attack on the rule of law itself, and it's not just happening at ICE facilities. Days later, a man armed with an assault rifle fired dozens of rounds at federal agents in a Border Patrol facility in McAllen, Texas, injuring an officer before he was shot and killed by police. These are not random acts. These are intentional, targeted assaults on those sworn to protect us. Some will try to downplay this violence, calling it activism or protest. But I see it for what it is, domestic terrorism. The only way this stops is if prosecutors hold every one of these attackers accountable to the fullest extent of the law. 10 people now face attempted homicide charges with at least a decade in prison if found guilty. Frankly, that's the bare minimum. Our law enforcement officers deserve better. They deserve our respect, our support, and, most importantly, real consequences for anyone who tries to harm them. I'll keep following this story, and I encourage you to stand up for those who stand between us and chaos. Justice must be served, and law and order must be preserved.